Okay, so let's get right into it. If you're online, you've seen the posts, right? The ones about U.S. food being poisoned with chemicals that are banned elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're going to do a deep dive past that panic and into the real regulatory gap between the U.S. and the EU. We want to get to the why. Why is something you buy in Phoenix totally different from what you'd get in Paris?
And I think the first thing to get out of the way is that the simple narrative isn't quite right. The U.S. actually bans more additives overall.
That's surprising.
It is, but the whole controversy, it really centers on a very specific, very visible group of things. Synthetic food dyes, some stabilizers, and growth hormones.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The core difference isn't like some evil intent. It's a deep philosophical divide on how you even approach risk.
It's everything. It all boils down to two completely different models. In the U.S., the FDA uses what's called the risk assessment model.
And that's the innocent until proven guilty
Huh.
idea, right?
Exactly. To get something banned, you need overwhelming, just definitive proof that it causes significant harm. And on top of that, you have the GRS system.
Generally recognized as safe.
Right. But it lets manufacturers basically self-affirm that an ingredient is safe, which, can create a huge delay in regulation.
And the EU just flips that whole thing on its head.
Completely inverts it. They use the precautionary principle. Their standard is basically guilty until proven safe.
So if you can't prove it's harmless,
Then you restrict it or ban it. Simple as that. The burden of proof is entirely on the manufacturer, not the regulator.
this is where it gets really interesting for me. How does this actually play out with something you can see, like food coloring? We hear that the EU bans things like Red 40. That's not exactly true, is it?
It's a really important nuance. They don't technically ban it. What they do is they mandate a warning label.
A warning label.
Yeah. It has to say the product may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children.
Wow. And that's enough to get companies to change their formulas.
Oh, it's a death sentence for a product. It creates such a huge economic disincentive that companies just voluntarily reformulate for the EU market. So it becomes a de facto ban.
Okay, so that's economic pressure. What about a pure, straight-up ban? Something like titanium dioxide, the stuff in powdered donuts.
Right, U-171. That's a perfect example of the precautionary principle in action. The European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, banned it in 2022.
And why?
Because they couldn't rule out the possibility of genotoxicity.
Meaning DNA damage.
Exactly.
Right.
From the substance accumulating as nanoparticles. So the ban happened not because harm was proven, but because safety could not be guaranteed. It's a much, much stricter standard than the FDA uses right now.
And this isn't just about candy and donuts, is it? This philosophy extends to farming, too. What about something like ractopamine in meat?
Oh, absolutely. Ractopamine is a growth promoter used in the U.S. It's banned in the EU, partly over animal welfare concerns, which also works as a pretty effective trade barrier.
But something is starting to change here in the U.S., isn't it? And it's coming from the states.
That's the huge development. California passed the Food Safety Act AB 418, which bans BBO, red dye number 3, and a few others starting in 2027.
And because California is such a massive market, it basically forces national companies to change their products for everyone.
They almost have to. You can't just have a California-only formula for most products. And the FDA has noticed they've already started the process to phase out 6 of these synthetic dyes, including red 40 and yellow 5, by the end of 2027.
So it's a major signal. The U.S. is finally maybe inching closer to that precautionary model, but it's being pushed by states from the bottom up.
It is, which leaves you, the listener, with a really big question to think about. For decades, the FDA's whole risk assessment model has been propped up by that GRS system, the one that lets industry self-affirm safety. So if the FDA is now being forced to phase out these dyes, will that pressure build until they finally have to eliminate that fundamental power of self-affirmation from the GRS system? Because doing that would truly end the philosophical divide once and for all.